the Heart of Early Childhood podcast. Hi, I'm Katrina Gallegos, and I'm here with my co-host, Terry Tapia.
Hi, Katrina. I'm really glad to be back again.
This is so much fun. Thanks for joining in again, Terry.
My pleasure.
So tell our listeners who we have the opportunity to sit down with and connect with today.
I'm really excited that we have Erin Sabina with us today. Erin is from Teachstone, and Teachstone are the producers of CLASS. CLASS is the classroom assessment scoring system.
Wow. So we're going to actually get to find out more information about CLASS and how it really supports us here in New Mexico.
Exactly.
So everyone go ahead and pull up a seat, get comfortable, and get ready to listen.
Welcome, Erin. So good to have you this morning on our podcast. Why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Good morning, and thank you for having me today. My name is Erin Sabina. I have been with Teachstone for 6.5 years now. Born and raised in Philly and the South Jersey area. Definitely diehard Philadelphia sports fan. Eagles and Phillies for sure. I love all Philadelphia sports, but definitely Eagles and Phillies. I moved to DC for college, so a little bit of a smaller city, going down a little bit smaller. Lived in the Northern Virginia area for about 10 years and then moved to Charlottesville. So now going a little bit smaller, getting progressively less urban here. I have a 2.5-year-old son. He is an absolute joy. Love him. And a 9-year-old English bulldog. Just generally speaking, like I love going on and in the water. I love cooking and love spending time with my son.
Nice, well-rounded picture of who you are. Thank you, Erin.
That's so awesome. And I love that you have a dog and a little son. How cute.
My dog is the best too. She's such a good dog. Love her.
Oh,
I'm very blessed.
Yes. So what brought you to Teachstone?
It was actually a really interesting journey. I feel like kind of everything aligned to bring me to Teachstone. I started college as an education major, wasn't certain that teaching was where I wanted to go. I knew even then that working with others, that having that knowledge of who they are, the importance of interaction. So that was a transferable skill set. So I changed my degree to be psychology. And my degree's in psychology with the focus on child development. I worked in child cares. I did mentoring of kids. I worked in juvenile detention centers. And then I saw this ad that said wear flip-flops to work. I was in my early 20s and I was like, that is the job for me. And so I ended up working at Custom Ink, which is a custom printing company. But there I learned so much about just excellence in customer experience. I learned about servant leadership, which you'll hear me talk a lot about. I learned I was an employee trainer, an employee coach. And so when I discovered CLASS, so I had moved to Charlottesville as part of that job because I was training in different locations. And when I discovered CLASS and that Teachstone was right here in my backyard, I just was like, this is what I've been saying. This is what we need to be doing with kids. And being able to bring that passion for kids, that passion for interactions, and also of just customer experience into one role has really been fulfilling and very ideal for me.
Wow. Well, I have to tell you, Erin, it was so wonderful getting to meet you in person, but really all of the staff there at Teachstone is just, you guys are fabulous and just wonderful to work with.
I mean, we really embody interactions matter, and everybody, the way we interact with one another, what our goals are for supporting our partners in the field. I love the people that we work with both internally and externally.
Thank you so much for sharing.
Absolutely.
Why do you think measuring the interactions in preschool classrooms are important?
Sure. So that is an easy answer. The easy answer there is the research says so. The more difficult answer, though, is what does that actually mean? To me, the research is really the cherry on top. How do we actually connect with this? And so I like to think about it in an analogous, relatable way for adults. They say we don't leave companies, we leave managers. And why is that? The interactions in relationships are so important in determining satisfaction, in determining extrinsic motivation. Even as adults, we're more likely to put our best foot forward for a manager that we trust, that we have mutual respect for, and that we feel supported by. So now if you translate that to kids, who are still learning emotional regulation, those interactions and those relationships are that much more important to determining motivation, determining how comfortable and engaged they are in the classroom, and ultimately determining outcomes.
Yeah, I appreciate, Erin, what you were saying. And as you mentioned, mass exodus that people are talking about, right? That people are checking out of work. It isn't so much the work itself. It's, as you said, it's the relationships, the interactions, right? The positive feelings that people get that they are valued, and how that translates all the way into, of course, our preschool classrooms. Children also need to feel like they're valued.
Everybody does.
Everybody does, definitely.
A follow-up question too is, share with us about how class came about.
Sure. So it came about from researchers at the University of Virginia here in Charlottesville, Virginia. They developed the tool based on an extensive review of literature and of observation systems that were being used in some large-scale studies. And since publishing, that growing body of research has been documenting ways that educator and child interactions support learning and development, not only across the domains, but across grade levels, across populations, across various settings. We've become embedded in the Office of Head Start in many state CQIs, so continuous quality improvement plans, and even internationally. And so I think the research demonstrates some key findings that I think is really important about why class is so sustainable. Interactions can be observed reliably. They are important predictors of child outcomes. They can be systematically improved and measured at scale. And then lastly, our tool, the class tool, is an effective way to understand and support those interactions.
Erin, that's what we need, and that's what we're doing now. That is exciting. I mean, really just hearing all that research and why and how class came about. I mean, that is those critical moments, really, that's going to make a difference in children and, their outcomes. And so just that opportunity that we have.
The way that I view it is really like, this is what we know in our hearts is the way we should be working with kids, the way we should be working with people, not just with kids, but just interacting in general. And then we just have the research to back it up. So that's that cherry on top I was mentioning.
So tell us a little bit, when we think about class, what are the benefits of having a class observation for, say, the teacher?
Sure. So for the teacher, one of our partners in the field said it best, I think, you'll see a video clip that we show sometimes where she said that class is the how. So often teachers are told what they need to do. Here's the curriculum. Here's this thing you need to do. Here's that. But they're not told the how of how do you do these things. And class is the how. So we're improving the student outcomes, not just with academic learning, but with the social emotional learning as well. And as the kids feel safe and supported, those challenging behaviors are going to decrease some, and it's going to have the ripple effect that the educators are less stressed as well and can focus on some of these other areas.
Great. That's a nice description of the how for the teacher. Of course, we have administrators or directors listening into our podcast as well. And so they're going to wonder what is the benefit of having a class observation to them?
Absolutely. So they're going to be getting that objective data, being able to evaluate both individual educators as well as a program-wide evaluation on what are our student outcomes, where are we going with this, how can we drive these improvements that we're looking for with the professional development. And Terry, back to what you mentioned about the retainment of educators. Knowing that you are feeling seen and heard, and these are the really great aspects of what I'm doing, but here's where I can use some support, and then getting that support, that's key as well, is being able to have that ongoing growth and support.
Well, that just, Erin, leads into the third aspect of this question, because we feel so strongly that our practice-based coaching model is that model of professional development that we can provide to our teachers. So what are the benefits of having a class observation for the instructional coach?
Sure. And so again, they have that objective data. So they have this roadmap essentially of where to focus professional development. They have this framework of effective coaching as well. So I call that parallel process. The coach can use those same interactions that they're wanting the educators to be having with the children model those same interactions and really create that culture of class. But that's giving you these ideas in coaching of how can I scaffold? How can I provide quality of feedback? How can I be emotionally supportive of this educator that I'm coaching? How can I create structure for them and challenge them? So having that parallel process and that alignment to the tool, I think helps create that really great framework for the coaching model as well.
Erin, you're talking our language, so thank you for that. Appreciate that.
And Erin, how can we support teachers if this is their very first time that they might be receiving a class observation?
One of the things that I think is really helpful is to think about the fact it's not punitive. Right now we're getting baseline data and it's just a framework to determine your professional development.
Erin, you're gonna have to say that again because I
Say
think
that
that's
again?
so important. You know what I mean? You're right, but say that again because that is huge.
It's not punitive, it's to determine your professional development. So one thing that I've said, and I've posted this in our class learning community, which I'll mention again in a little bit, coaching, think about Olympic athletes. Even Olympic athletes get coached. There's always room for growth. One of my favorite quotes, Terry, I think I've said this to you before, is the moment you think you have nothing left to work on, you need to work on your humility. Always growth to be had. There's always development to be had. And this is a way to focus on where are you being really strong and effective? How can we be more intentional in some of those areas where you could use a little bit of growth and intentionality?
Yeah, that is wonderful just to be able to share that information with us because sometimes as a new teacher, you might get a little nervous, like someone's coming in. The way that you were able to say that right now, Erin, is really going to, I think, support new teachers that are hearing about this class observation. So thank you for sharing that part too.
Absolutely. And it's not just another new tool. That's something else that we hear as well. Like this is the tool that makes everything else you're doing easier. I mentioned that a little bit earlier. It really improves the overall atmosphere in the classroom and makes everything that you're doing, helps the kids feel more secure. They understand what's to come. So the challenging behaviors decrease. So then the teacher feels better. And it's just that great ongoing cycle.
Yeah, so much of what you're speaking to, Erin, just resonates with us because it's almost like when you start to see things align. We feel so strongly about our coaching model. We continue to say, too, that it's not one more thing. But also, we appreciate your speaking to the fact that everyone can use a coach. That's our message all the time, too. And the coaching is grounded in data, some solid data that it's not just picking things out of the clouds, so to speak, but rather there's specific things that we can grow in. So thanks for that.
Sure. And for that reason, I encourage educators to not try to act any differently during the observation. It's just a regular, normal day so that you can get the true value of that feedback of this is what my everyday practice is. Now give me that feedback. Not this is me on my A game because I know everybody's watching me and then you're not getting that true value as much if you're not being your normal everyday educator.
Great advice for those first time teachers that are receiving class.
Don't stress it.
Well, I want to bring it to New Mexico, of course. New Mexico has invested heavily in using class. So as you think about promoting class for us, how do you envision the state of New Mexico using class to improve student outcomes?
Sure. I think looking at the impact of class in a few other states is helpful. So if we think about what some other states have done, in Louisiana, they have community and program leaders who know and understand class, and that helps to really get that buy-in to the continuous quality improvement process, and then in turn allows those folks to support improved child outcomes. In Dallas Independent School District, they built up local capacity and expertise around this vision of quality, and that helps build the sustainability in the system and then also helps with experiences of children across grades. So having that continuum and that sustainability across grades, not just in pre-K, but how do you keep having these great interactions with teachers and kids as the children move forward into additional grades? In Florida and Georgia, we found that by providing support and resources for programs, especially those that were underserved and under-resourced, that led to significant gains. So I think if we think about what is quality, what is the sort of end game that we're looking for, and then work backwards from there. So we have quality, we have goals defined. Now, how do we achieve that? What supports does New Mexico need to achieve those goals? And then provide feedback to me and my colleagues here at Teachstone on if there's anything that we don't have that New Mexico could really benefit from, have that mutual relationship. But how can we help you all to build that sustainability to really meet those goals?
Thank you. Appreciate that response that you gave. One is I hear and I think is so critical is that interactions aren't just important for preschool children. And you started off by talking about adults needing to have quality supportive interactions. That's really what makes us be who we are. And so this is throughout our whole lifetime, we need to know that. We can learn those effective interactions when we're younger, but we want to sustain them. And so thank you for sharing that. I really appreciate that. And then also the supports that New Mexico might need as we roll this out statewide.
Absolutely. Yeah. And so we're here to support with thinking through how other folks have done it, but also what does New Mexico uniquely need and how can we support with those goals?
Thank you.
Erin, I know that you guys have a website. So what is available on the Teachstone website to support teachers and administrators?
Sure. So first, just like this podcast, we have a few podcasts. We have one that is aimed towards teachers. So it's called Teaching with Class. One of the things I love about that podcast is that we take a lot of notes from it as well. So that educators can really listen to the podcast during nap time, doing other things, and not need to be taking notes at the time. So they can be multitasking, but still have those takeaways. We also have a podcast for administrators called Impacting the Classroom. That's more about big picture policy things and different conversations with state leaders and such around the country and how can we support in early education. We have a class learning community. It's sort of like a LinkedIn for class users where you can connect with class users, not only within New Mexico, but throughout the country, throughout the world. So you don't have to, I kind of say, you don't have to reinvent the wheel. You can pose a question and say, has anybody been through this? Or this is my first time being observed. Please help me. What do I need to know? And hear from other teachers who have been getting observed. I'm a new administrator. How can I support my educators? You can hear from other administrators who have done similar things. We have blog posts, we have webinars, and then we do have trainings as well. So we have trainings for teachers on what is class, how do I do it, what is the importance of interactions, and what type of interactions should I be focused on. We have a primer for leaders that is more geared for administrators on, again, what is class and the importance of interactions, but now how do I actually use this information I'm getting to then drive the professional development. One of the most challenging domains, you will hear this many times, is our instructional support domain. So we have training that is focused directly on instructional support and asking those difficult questions, having feedback loops, and being more intentional and effective in the instructional aspect. And then the last one I sort of want to call out is we have something called custom events. We're changing the name on that in a little bit, is more customized learning series. So you can put on a conference with us or an ongoing learning series, but it's specific and the takeaways are immediate for educators and coaches. So things like, what can you do during center time? And that's available. We have different age levels, different languages. And so definitely a lot of supports, both things that you would need to reach out to me for, as well as you can just browse our website and find access right at your fingertips.
So Erin, you guys have a lot of different resources that can support teachers and administrators and asking some of those questions if you don't know and getting those interactions with other people around the world.
Yeah, we've really grown the way that we support our partners and been really intentional in that. So I'm really happy with a lot of what we have to offer.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
I know, Erin, that's what's available on the website, but we also have been engaging in a platform that's supporting us with class, and it's entitled My Teachstone. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, for sure. So that is, to me, one of our best offerings that we have because it's just so robust and the amount of support that's provided in it. So it's a place that you can put your class data and you can run reports and track data both on an individual level, on a programmatic level. See how those interventions you're having are impacting your educators and your program, and focus on what to do next. So to the question earlier about instructional coaches, how does class benefit? The platform will show you, here's this educator's strengths, here are the opportunities for growth. And then when we get the learning resources added there, there's this, you can just go right to the specific resource for that domain or dimension. You can say this, I want to focus on concept development with this educator. Go right to a learning resource. You can filter it to meal times, to different things. And it takes away a lot of that administrative work from the administrators and coaches, and allows them to focus more on these relationships that we talk about and how important those are. So less time spent building reports, less time spent doing the data dive, the homework before the homework, I call it, as far as what coaches have to do, of digging into what is the meat of this report, what do I need to do for this lesson, what video am I going to show, what questions am I going to ask. We've done all of that, so that you can really focus on the interactions in those relationships.
Oh, thanks, Erin. I think as we become more familiar with the My Teachstone platform, we'll be able to better appreciate and further appreciate, if I can say, some of the resources that are there. I know we've looked at some, and the reports definitely have been helpful to us in our work. So thanks for sharing that.
And I'm always here to support with any questions about it.
You all have been very supportive. So just one last question here is, what is one takeaway that you want our listeners to remember about class?
I will put it in one sentence, and it is that class isn't done to you. You do class, and you're already doing it.
Ah, interesting. It's not done to you. You're already doing it.
Yep, you're already having those interactions. You're already thinking about these things. How do we make it more intentional? And it's not somebody coming into the classroom and doing class to you because they're doing this observation. You're doing class. You're having professional development around class. You're having these interactions. And the observation is just a portion of that.
Oh, I love that. I think that's something that we can share with our coaches as well, or our observers as they're going out too. That's a critical message even for them. Don't you agree, Katrina?
I definitely think so. Thank you so much for sharing that piece of it, because man, we're going to take that and use it. Well, Erin, guess what? We have made it to the rapid fire questions where we get to learn a little bit more about you. And so I know that you came to New Mexico back in April. And so we must know, here in New Mexico, red or green?
I would say green. I didn't get to try Christmas, though. I would be interested to try Christmas.
Yeah, Christmas is good. So hopefully you'll make a visit out here again so you can have Christmas. But yes, green chili is definitely wonderful.
You know, Erin, if you come out here now and about anytime starting now in August, you're going to get this whiff of a scent of something that you've never smelled before, and you're wondering, what is that? Just so you know, that's the green chilies being roasted, getting ready for our green chili, and then you'll see some that are going to be allowed to ripen and turn red. That's how our chili is harvested in the early fall.
So you just smell it in the air as you're walking around.
Oh yeah,
Smells so
very
good.
distinct.
That's awesome. Very unique.
Yeah. Well, here's my question for you. Name 5 songs that are on your current playlist.
We'll see how many of these you're familiar with. Right now, I have been really into the Young Dirk Morgan Wallen song, Stand By Me. Very good. And yeah, very good message to it. Dax and Snow the Product have a song, A Lot at Stake. NF, Happy, very good song. Tusi, favorite song. And the last one is Russ, Handsomer. How many of them do either of you two know?
Oh man.
Morgan Wallen for sure.
Okay. Do you know the song or the artist?
Both. And I did see Morgan Wallen in concert. So yes. Mm-hmm.
It's a good song, really good lyrics and good message to it.
I agree with you.
I think we played Happy at one of our online meetings not too long ago, and we all enjoyed that a lot. I think it was at our last retreat, right, Katrina? Yeah, so some I recognize, Erin, and I think we're going to get into the generational differences pretty soon.
Like, I don't listen to the radio much, so I don't listen to a ton of mainstream. So I've been a fan of NF before Happy really started hitting the radio. So
Well, good. Well, let's move on because I don't want to get stuck in that generational thing.
So tell us a little bit about maybe one thing that you love most about your son.
he just has such an amazing temperament, an amazing heart. So, like, example, he wanted cupcakes in the grocery store the other day, and I told him that we already had dessert at home, and he just looked at them and he waved goodbye and walked away. And that's he waves goodbye to everybody, blows kisses, and it's just he's totally okay with you saying no to something, and we'll just bye.
Oh, so sweet.
Wow.
You're probably using a lot of the class strategies and to support him.
Absolutely, especially emotional support and classroom organization. Yes.
Oh, that's evident. Well, then, here's a question for you then, Erin. What's your son's favorite activity to do with you to connect?
He's 2.5. He loves peekaboo and hide and seek still. He will just go disappear into the bathroom and close the door and say, "Go, where'd it go?" Hide random things and say where'd it go. But really, I mean, we've been really enjoying pool time together this summer. Yesterday, he spent about 3 hours just getting out of the pool, jumping into my arms, getting out of the pool, jumping into my arms, just back and forth and back and forth. Loves that.
Wow.
So sweet.
Yeah. And don't you think we could spend time deconstructing that activity to see what it is he's learning and feeling and all of that? But just the thought that you are willing to spend 3.5 hours doing that with him. What a great
Yeah.
mom you are.
I mean, I do as much as I can. We do puzzles together and different learning activities, but the physical, he loves the physical jumping and climbing and being outside.
How fun. Thank you so much.
We have enjoyed our time with you and finding out even more about class and just really understanding it. I think more too as we're rolling it out, we're still new to it in some sense, right? And we're just trying to get as much information about it. But man, you really helped make connections for me. And I think for our listeners today and Terry, and we're just excited for this partnership to continue to grow and learn even more about class and see how it changes New Mexico.
Likewise, definitely excited to see what happens, and hopefully listeners feel a little more excited as well about this is what you're already doing, and this is really the power of interactions and thinking about the importance of interactions to us and how important interactions really are to our little ones as well.
Erin, just lastly, if I can just thank you, what I appreciate the most about our conversation is you bringing the humanness to class and to our conversation. That I think is so critical to know that it really is about how we are with one another, regardless of age or circumstance. So thank you for looping that in too.
Absolutely. Thank you for having me today.
Wow, Katrina, what a wonderful opportunity we had today to interview Erin Sabina from class. Didn't you enjoy getting to know her a little bit better?
Yes, I did. Man, I found out so much more information about her and her experience.
What I really appreciated is how she responded to our questions around class. But what she did for us is she brought it down to the human element of the benefits of class and how it's not punitive. It's actually teachers are already doing class. We're just observing them doing that. I loved that idea. I also love the idea that interactions are important no matter who we are, how old we are, where we are. We always support that we have positive interactions with one another. So that's great. So what's next? Well, just wanted to remind our audience that when we had our Choose Courage Institute, we had 2 other representatives from Teachstone, Monica Pujol-Nassib and Samantha Mitzvin, and they presented one of our sessions on class and its benefits in a special ed preschool classroom. A lot of what they brought to the table was the research behind class. So we have Monica scheduled for part 2, a deeper dive into class.
So be on the lookout for part 2. Till next time, we hope that you have a great day.